So, going over our study guide for 16, 17, and 18. Make sure you have it out. I understand some of you are a little more stressed about the project, but if you could just close those Chromebooks for me. Okay. So, we're starting off with question number 1. What other benefits does Hrothgar bestow to signify his munificence? So to start off with, what's munificence mean? Anybody got an idea? So we're giving you these words on this not to trick you up, not to make you feel like you don't know something, because you might not know what the word means. We want you to look it up. We want you to go, hey, let me just check online really quick. You got your phones, you can do it real quick. Munificence is a style of talking about gratitude or giving. Somebody does something for you, so you are gracious for that. And to show your munificence, you bestow gifts onto someone, potentially. That's the case in this. Because who does Hrothgar, how does he show his munificence for these men that came and helped? Not just Beowulf, but the other warriors. Let's go. Let's go at the beginning. Kayla. No? Alright. What do you got? Number 1. Yep.
Not only is it material wealth, but it's also the honor and respect that's given to those who have fought.
That's a good way of putting it. I haven't heard that one yet, actually. A lot of people have just been saying like the basic stuff he gave them. But it does kind of have a feel that Hrothgar is kind of showing his gratitude by just like expressing it too, treating them to nice things throughout this chapter. But he does also give them some actual physical goods. What does he give them? What's it say in the text? Yep. Ancient armor and swords. He pays them to begin with. He's going to give them gold. But he also gives them items that kind of he already gave to someone. He gave that same kind of thing to Beowulf, maybe to show an equal amount of respect between all of them. And he doesn't just do that for the ones that survived, right? Doesn't he do a nice thing for someone? Yep. Yeah, the man who died, he bestows a portion of the treasure to him, quote unquote, to give to the family, obviously. Do you remember what that's kind of called when a figurehead would pay off a family, somebody who died? Search for the W.
It's on this slide here.
It's kind of on this slide right here. A Wergild. What are you? It's right there. It's Wergild. It's a man payment, as they would call it. If someone died, in order to make sure there's no kind of feuding going on or upset feelings, you would pay the people that survived. Now, in this sense, it wasn't Hrothgar who killed this Geat, but it was, you could argue, Hrothgar's fault, right? He hadn't handled his stuff, he hadn't dealt with the monster, so Beowulf and his crew came in, well, one of the crew died. And to keep maybe the family appeased that gave this warrior over, he's going to pay them now. So, and it's a way, once again, we talked about before, it's a way of showing respect. You know, he understands that it wasn't easy what they did, and one of them lost their life because of it, you know. According to the narrator, what were the factors that ultimately decided the Danes and Geat's success? So the narrator mentions a certain someone, or a certain something, if you want to put it like that, that made sure they succeeded. Yep. God. God was involved. Remember? Continuously stating something in accordance to God giving someone over to them to help them. What's it called? When God... Divine intervention. Exactly. Divine intervention is one of the big focal points of this because it's, once again, the Saxon belief when the Christian ideas came involved. Heroes were heroes because they were chosen by God and they were pushed forward, in this case, by God. Who is Finn's wife, and how does the story that involves her, Finn, And the Frisians figure into the narrative of this chapter. So this is a bit of an intricate question, right? It's not a simple one. First of all, who's Finn's wife? Yep. Well, she's a widow now. She wasn't, but yeah, she's a widow. She's a Dane, and her name. God, I'm drawing a blank, almost like a white. Smash me in the face, like a white board that I can't read the name off of, but maybe you guys can. Hildeberg. You're standing right in the way.
Oh, yeah, right here.
No worries. Hildeberg.
I'm trying to find the page.
Yeah.
Where it is. Yeah.
Hildeberg was a member of a Danish royal court who was married to a Frisian. And why do you think this marriage occurred? Do you think those two actually maybe loved and cared about each other? Probably not. What do you think? It's a royal thing. Classic royal thing. Two big families lock each other together to share wealth and to maybe ensure peace, especially by neighboring peoples, because you don't want them getting upset. Number 4. I'm going to continue with talking about her for a second. What effect is achieved through the alliteration that describes Finn's wife's reaction upon hearing of her son's death? So not only does her husband die, but her son died.
And that's actually going to parallel what's happening
Yeah.
with the monsters. You're going to see that connection in the chapter that we read today. All right?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about it. So it's described in this question that the use of alliteration comes in. Now, do we remember why the poets would use things like repetition, alliteration, rhyming, and stuff like that? Why do you think? Yeah. Why would I use alliteration over and over? To make you remember. We want you to remember something. We're going to repeat it. We're going to repeat either what is being said, how it's being said. Even letters are going to be continuously used, especially at the beginning of the word, because that's what we're going to remember the most, right? Now, we want you to remember, and in this case, they want you to keep that mind, that image in your head of a grieving mother. Now, I want you guys to hold on to this because it's going to end, the last question of this is kind of going to end with it. Why do you think the poet wants you to remember the idea of a grieving mother? You going to give it to me now, or do you want to wait to the end? Are you going to wait? You going to throw that at me at the end? Yeah, let's do that. So, jumping back, though, a little out of the... question 5, what potential future event does the theme of the court poet's song portray? So, the poet in the court is singing. He's offering a song, performance, telling a story with it. So, what's the theme of this story that he's telling? What's going on in the story? Let's let's go Stephen. What do we got? What answer number 5? Just give me the answer. It could be right, it could be wrong. What you got written down there? You didn't answer that one? Okay. So, does anybody else maybe have an idea? Maybe we can help them out? What do you got? Okay, I'm going to give it to you because it looks like we might have missed a question. Happens. He's singing about invasions and wars and battles. Old wars and battles that pertain to these people. What do you think that means in the sense of foreshadowing then, Stephen? If I'm singing if the story has a person singing a song about old invasions and battles, and that's a sense of foreshadowing, what does that mean? What's foreshadowing? Kind of give you an idea of what's going to happen. Not tell exactly, but let's give you a hint that something could happen. Okay, so what do you think that means then? If the poet's song is foreshadowing the future, right? And the song is about invasions and wars, there could be an invasion in the future. Yeah, we're talking about the strife and the turmoil of things that are occurring right now. Can you actually get the door for me? how does chapter 17 begin? What is with the court what is the court poet doing then? We just talked about it. What's the poet doing? Singing. He's singing a song. He's performing. He's showing the audience something interesting. Any of those kind of things. It's a performance. That's a very simple question because we had a little more of an in-depth one before. So question number 7 is a little more, once again, we're talking about foreshadowing. What implicit warning and potential foreshadowing does Wethlo's speech contain regarding Hrothulf? Now, do we remember who Hrothulf is? Yep. Hrothgar's nephew. He's directly linked to Hrothgar. Now, we've talked about it before. Foreshadowing is occurring in this. Do we know what the foreshadowing is? Piece of text right there. Let's go 3rd line down, everybody. And I am going to grab, let's do Matthew. Read 3rd line down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give me the next 5 lines after that. Appeared among them. Start there.
Appeared among them came the Hrothgar and
Yes.
Feed peacefully together in friendship, and also good faith, no unbroken, and on first sat at Hrothgar's feet, everyone turned with him.
Okay. So, foreshadowing. We've talked about this before. We've mentioned Hrothulf and Hrothgar in relation to them having a good time and no one's thinking about betraying anybody. So, if I'm asking you what's this potentially foreshadowing, what do you think it could be foreshadowing? Let's bounce up. Exactly. We've talked about it before, the ideas of invasions, broken alliances, and once again we're bringing up again that there's no way Hrothulf would ever betray Hrothgar. There's no way. Well, as the great bard Shakespeare would have said, methinks you doth protest too much. If you're going to continuously say it's not going to happen over and over and over in a story where we talked about the idea of repetition of you remembering things, foreshadowing things, I think it might actually happen in the future. I think Hrothulf might get an idea about getting that crown for himself. Question number 8. Identify 2 examples of hyperbole in the previous passage. Now, what's a hyperbole? Yep.
Go.
Oh, you weren't raising your hand. You were just
Yeah, then you come with what do you got, Polo?
Exaggerate.
an exaggeration.
Yeah.
An exaggeration meant to show something being like the best almost in a certain situation. An unmeasurable extreme of something. The best pizza in New Jersey. You'll see that on a lot of different places that have pizza that specifically look at that. Or coffee or something like that. That's the classic ones, right? Is there a way of really proving that? I mean, you could, but I don't really see that being like really the case. My big one that I always say to this is Disney World. Anybody ever been there? Some of us have, some of us have seen it. What's the slogan for Disney World? What's it called? What's it known as? The happiest place on earth. Is it the happiest place on earth?
No.
No, you ever been there in August? No, no one's happy. It's humid. It's gross. But that's a hyperbole. I'm trying to tell you to come here because it's so amazing. It's the happiest place on earth. And you get there and a bottle of water costs $10. So, maybe a little bit less. But what's the hyperboles in this? Give me the first hyperbole. Yep.
The most beautiful necklace known to man.
The most beautiful necklace known to man. Is it the most beautiful necklace known to man? Probably not. But then again, I'm not there. I can't tell if it is actually that way. Now, do you have the other one?
I was gonna say wait.
Okay, well, how about this? You have that one. Go to the next line and read that for me.
Not in how I say,
No. Nowhere. Line 1196. It's right below that one. Yeah. Yep. Not since Hama carried the Brosings necklace home. So that's another hyperbole. Not only is it the most beautiful necklace in the world, nowhere on this earth could you find the same necklace or a similar necklace of similar quality. I mean, I don't think that's the case. There's got to be like a necklace that looks the same as another necklace out there. Just how it is. The obvious fact that everything kind of repeats after a while, right? But what they're doing here is they're trying to show you this as like an extreme, but also showing you as the uniqueness of the situation as well, or the uniqueness of the actual item. And the idea of the hyperbole bounces into the next question, everybody. Question number 9. What role does hyperbole play in the poet's telling of the Beowulf tale? Why would the poet be using hyperbole throughout this entire poem? Because it happens a bunch of times in here. Yep. Exaggerating how good Beowulf is, or exaggerating the story in general. We want this to be a larger-than-life story. There was a time in comic books where Superman would fight crooks, fight guys with guns that were robbing a bank. Nowadays, he's fighting Darkseid or something like that, because we need bigger stories. Beowulf can't just fight a shark in the ocean while he's swimming for an hour with his friend. He has to swim for 7 days and sword fight 9 sea monsters. That's big. We want big because we have to be entertained by the story. We have to have like an emotional connection to things. We need to watch it. The description of how Grendel would kill people was huge and crazy. Like, you just say, oh, he broke in and ate somebody. No, he tore them apart and he broke their bones and he drank their blood. Like, we want big stories here, and that's the point of this. It's to help you remember it. We will remember the best of things before we remember the fact that, like, oh yeah, this sheep farmer and his dad found a rock and it was nice. Well, what if that rock was like magical and something like that? There you go. That's how you remember it better. Number 10. How do Queen Weathlow's speech and actions exemplify important aspects of the warrior code? So the idea of the warrior code involves things like boasting and telling stories and remembering people. Weathlow is specifying to her husband, I'm going to kind of explain it to you because it's a little bit of a more, in-depth, difficult question, but it kind of if you're not looking at the vagueness in that situation of what she's actually doing, you can get kind of like lost. She's making sure that Hrothgar remembers to thank Beowulf and to pass the story on. She's specifying it there. We will continue to speak your praise. We will continue to tell your story so that you yourself can become a bigger and more important hero. We want you to be remembered. There's nothing more important to a hero than being remembered. They want that story to live on. That's what Beowulf really wanted here. That's why he fist-fought a monster. It wasn't to actually just only win. Obviously, it was to like, I got to save these guys. They need my help. But also, hey, what if I did so in my skivvies with my hands and not with a sword and armor on? That's gonna last. That's gonna get him up there with the like of like Sigmund, as they talked about. And last but not least, she's out for the bathroom. On what notes of foreshadowing does chapter 18 end? So how does chapter 18 end? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The soldiers make sure that they are prepared for battle.
Why do you think it ends like that?
Yeah, who knows what could happen? What were you going to say? It's setting the stage for what to come next.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the big thing, too. Are they, like, getting themselves ready, like putting on their armor and ready to march out to war? No. What are they doing? Well, they're not sacrificing themselves. What are they doing? What's the... They're going to bed. They're going to bed and they have their weapons next to them. Now, I'm going to ask you this. What happens in the story every time somebody goes to bed? Someone gets killed. Specifically how? What happens? What happens every time someone goes to bed in this story? No, what happens? Oh. What shows up every time someone goes to bed? Grendel showed up. Can Grendel show up now? No. Now, we talked about this before. A mother grieving the loss of their child. That's foreshadowing for future events. These men going to bed with their weapons. That's foreshadowing of future events. When someone goes to bed in this story, something shows up. Grendel can't show up anymore.
His mom.
his mom can show up.
Right.
And his mom is not too happy with the fact that her son was killed. And that's what we're going to pick up in the next chapter. Everybody get your books out. Open it up to page
56.
56, chapter 19.